the most successful women are good at money. We are shamed away from being good at money because, we should just be passionate. No, sorry, I actually want to be rich.
At the end of the day, your goal in business is to make money.
We feel bad taking from the business. That is bullshit. That's not cool.
A strong opinion that you have about entrepreneurship that might be a little bit controversial.
That it's not that hard. You just have to have a little bit of delulu. Women not backing themselves, staying in jobs they hate because they really don't have the confidence to move. I was working with clients who had a minimum of $10 million investable. I'm earning like $50,000, $60,000 a year. I just couldn't relate.
I'm curious about what some of those lessons are you share with women who are trying to build wealth.
A lot of people want to talk about investing, Bitcoin, so sexy. We don't want to talk about budgeting because it feels restrictive. It's not really about restricting your groceries. It's about understanding how does my money flow? That stuff is boring. I had a personal loan of $40,000. I traveled, bought clothes and shoes. The housemates I lived with, they'd be like, do you want to go out for brunch? And I'd be like, yeah, of course. I used to just wake up stressed about money.
Hey business besties, welcome back to Female Founder World. I'm Jasmine, I'm the host of the show, and today I have Victoria Devine. She's the founder of She's on the Money, and Zella, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm very excited about this.
I've been wanting to chat with you on this podcast for a long time.
You've been trying. We got to get you on my podcast in New York, and now I feel like you're at my house. You come, I get to go on your show. It's like vice versa.
Okay, for people that don't know She's on the Money, don't know Zella, what have you built?
A complex little ecosystem of financial literacy, I would say. So She's on the Money is a financial literacy podcast based in Australia. It's internationally listened to, but I would say most of the people that listen are Australian. We have about 1.8 million listeners each and every single month, which is really fun.
Amazing.
I think massive for Australia, tiny for the US.
I wouldn't say it's tiny.
Tiny when you I don't know, I've been to a few podcast conferences overseas and I'm just like always shook with their numbers and look at what they do. And I'm like, so you do what I do, but on a weekly basis. Cool.
Per episode.
Yeah. So She's on the Money kind of comes from this space of wanting women to be more financially literate, making these conversations more every day. And then in my quote, real job, you could say, I own a mortgage broking firm called Zella Money. And we basically get people into their first or next homes. And I'm just always talking property.
I want to know some milestones. What are some things that have happened just to help people understand where you're at with those businesses? You talked about downloads, super helpful.
Yeah. So I launched She's on the Money in 2019 as a podcast. Prior to that was a Facebook group and just me yapping on the internet about the importance of money and women having control of it. Since then, I've written 5 books, all of them,
wow,
thankfully. Yeah, I've published through Penguin Random House.
God, I think a LinkedIn post is a good achievement on a...
Do you know when you look at things that you've done yourself and you gaslight yourself, you're like, no, maybe that's not real. So it still feels a little bit fake. A couple of them are bestsellers here in Australia, which is really, really cool. Obviously, the podcast, a number of different random awards along the way. Business Podcast of the Year in 2022, I believe. So that's been going really well. And then on the flip side with Zella Money, I think a lot of people just think it's me, maybe, but it's me and a team of nearly 20 people,
wow.
Which is really cool. They're all based across Australia. So we have a half remote, half in-person team. And I think that means that we get the best of both worlds.
I want to talk about building both of these businesses plus just some of your lessons and learnings around building wealth, building businesses and building influence as well, I guess. But let's start in the early days. You were working in private wealth when you started back in 2017. You've been at this for a while.
Just a little bit.
Yeah.
It's been a little bit. That was a really fun journey. So private wealth was just not where I ever saw my career going. Prior to working in wealth, I worked in organizational psychology. So I did a lot around leadership development, engagement, culture, and I adored it, right? But those things aren't nearly as measurable as money. And I'm a numbers gal. So I would go to clients and talk to them about, I can increase your engagement by this, and that would, ultimately impact shareholder revenue like this. And you can kind of talk about it, but I can't prove it. We could link the two, but correlation doesn't equal causation, right? And then as I got a little bit older and more into that space, I realized that I was idolizing all of the other consultants. I'd be like, oh my gosh, they've got their lives together. They're in their 30s, they're in their 40s, they have kids and mortgages and houses. And to me, that stuff just happened. right? Like I didn't have my stuff together in my early 20s. I ended up in like $40,000 worth of personal debt trying to keep up with all of these people. And I was like, hold on. You mean I've got to actually work it out, and these people actually don't have it together. Just from the outside, they look like they have it together. But in reality, the more you got to know them, some of their marriages were falling apart. Some of their houses were being sold because they couldn't afford them. Some of them couldn't get into the property market. And I was like, hold on. You mean it's going to take a lot more than just having a good job to get ahead? And that's when I got a really, I would say, keen interest in financial literacy for myself. And that then ultimately meant that I wanted to share that. Like I was learning about superannuation, I was learning about insurances, saving and investing, and I was insufferable at brunch. Like I'd go out to brunch with my girlfriends and be like, so have you like looked at your super? Because that's like actually really cool. And so now I look back on it and I'm like, you sound like you were in a cult, Victoria. But that kind of ultimately meant that I made the move into private wealth. Was really lucky that they were one of my clients from the consulting space, and they were like, you'd be a great financial advisor. I'd be like, what? Absolutely not. That sounds so boring. And yeah, kind of shifted into that space. So my first kind of experience in private wealth was in the ultra high net wealth space. So I was working with clients who had a minimum of $10 million investable, which was always really overwhelming for me. I'm coming to the table, I'm earning like $50,000, $60,000 a year. They're talking about family constitutions and complaining about their trust accounts and, you know, their trust fund baby issues basically. And I just couldn't relate. But what I could see was the information being given at those tables would benefit my girlfriend so much. Like, but we didn't have the money to access that type of information. So here's me at brunch trying to be like, okay, guys, did you know, like you could get really ridiculously rich by the time you retire, and it doesn't even take that much. So that kind of manifested itself into a Facebook group where I got to kind of give advice and share tips and tricks and stuff around money. And yeah, She's on the Money was kind of born from that. I've since stepped out of private wealth and just live in the mortgage broking and just podcasting, content creating space.
You were kind of, I feel, very early in the educator, content creator, podcaster space.
Yeah.
It's definitely in Australia.
It was not cool when I did it.
It was
still so like, uncool.
I feel like there was like Amy Porterfield in the US.
Oh yeah, I used to follow her, and I still follow her, and like Jenna Kutcher and like all of those people, obsessed. But nothing like that existed in Australia,
and not in the finance space as well.
Absolutely not.
It was kind of
you had the barefoot investor
creators telling people how to create courses, and now this like education space is kind of whatever your area of expertise is. There are going to be people that want to learn from you, and there's so much opportunity there. And you think about starting a business that is like low overheads, you can be profitable really quickly, it can like replace your income, all of these kind of things. We speak to a lot of people building consumer product brands, and then I look at the model of digital products and I'm like, oh.
See,
I like
better. So it's so funny because I do a lot. I have a couple of podcasts. So I've got She's on the Money, the Business Bible, and the Property Playbook. Yeah. And in the Business Bible, I'm consistently talking to small business owners. And it's so funny, you always want what you don't have. Yes. Like the idea that these small business owners have this product that they can see, they can touch, they can, you know, give to people. And I'm kind of here going, yes, so it's my brain, it's digital. You could look at it on the internet, but it's not kind of real. I get a little bit envious of that. But then on the flip side, I think that's how I've been able to scale my businesses and actually make it a sustainable job for me. Because as much as we have the podcast, we have books that we sell through third parties, but then courses are a really, really big part of our revenue. And I would say that they now take up about 65 to 70% of the revenue of the She's on the Money business. Wow. But I don't think when you look from the outside, that's how you would see it, because you would see the shiny podcast, you would see, you know, the free content, the Facebook group, the downloadables. But on the flip side, that's kind of our base.
I would love your advice. So we've built a community. We are a media company in that we're monetizing through partnerships. We obviously do like big events. We've got a membership, that kind of thing, but we don't really do courses.
Yeah.
Like that's not really a thing. that I've done very much. And
we talked about this when you were in New York, and I was like, girl,
and
get it.
again, like when I was in Australia a year ago, like we've spoken about it so many times. We did release one program, and I'm now talking with different people about bringing in different experts to lead courses in different verticals across the business, rather than me teaching, because I genuinely don't know what I would teach.
Yeah,
which is such a, I don't know if that's just me and a confidence
no,
thing.
I think
or
that's
what
a
it
confidence
is.
thing, because like I would want to learn everything from you.
That's so interesting. I'm so much more comfortable. I think it's because I have the journalist background. I'm so much more comfortable being the person that is like extracting the knowledge rather than the one.
But go do that and then bring it to a course.
Yes.
Like, I'm not saying that you have to be the subject matter expert, but like I think your audience, and like I adore female founders world, right? But we look at your audience and they trust you because you have that insight, you have the ability to research, you have the ability to decipher what's good and what might be junk. So if you put together any type of course, whether that is on starting a business or building a brand or marketing or, launching your first course, whatever it is, I'd be like, well, Jasmine's gone and done the hard work and pulled all of the nuggets out from all the different books, from all of the different places, and this is her perspective on how she would do it. I want that blueprint. Like, I don't want it because somebody else is an expert. Go get their advice and be like, okay, I've read their book and these are the nuggets here. And I've read their book and here's what we're going to do here. Or here are the strategies that have worked for your community. Like, I think that there's just so much value in realizing that sometimes you're not the subject matter expert, but you are the one that is good at doing the research, doing the advocacy, working out what's going on. Because, now your community don't have to do that.
Yeah.
They don't have to go to 6 million people. They'll just be like, oh, we'll just check with Jasmine, trust her.
Yeah, I love that. That's such a good perspective shift. For someone who's out there and they want to build a community, monetize their education products, like what are the steps to kind of figure out what your niche should be, what to focus on, and how to start building that?
I feel like finding your niche is the hardest, but also the easiest part. For me, it was what lit me up. Like, I just get so wildly excited about financial literacy. And then if I flip to you and say, do you want to talk about financial literacy? You'd be like, probably not. Like, that's just not my journey, and that's okay. But we have to find that and then kind of back ourselves, because if I'd asked you if you thought, oh, do you think that like talking about money on the internet's good? You'd be like, babe, I think that sucks. Like, that sounds like it is just not very interesting. But from my perspective, I'm like, okay, well, let me make that interesting for you. I fully get it. So finding your niche, I would say, is really hard. But once you've found it, we don't want to just build products and hope that it works. I think it's about building community first always. And that's how She's on the Money has grown to thrive. I mean, we've got now, more than 300,000 people in our Facebook group. Wow. And we are always going to them before we do anything. What do you want more of? What type of content would help you thrive? What does this look like? So everything we do has always been community-led, and everything that we've always done has been very much, or from my opinion, has been give more than we expect to get back. So like, I am pumping out so much content, and then down the track I'm like, and then maybe I'll do a little course and maybe I'll get like 50 people and hopefully that would be enough. So for me, it's about giving more than you get back and always having that approach, because that's what creates community. Like, I think lots of people say they want a community and then they're not willing to be the community member who gives back. They're like, no, I just want to lead it. And it's like, no. It's not about good leadership. It's actually about walking the walk and, literally anything that the community needs. I'm like, let me add it.
Let me do it.
Let me do it. Like, how do I help you? How do I help you thrive on an individual level? Because that kind of spreads. And now that the community has existed, like our Facebook group is like 7 years old now.
Yeah.
They help each other. So like, before I can even get to answer a question will pop up on the group, posters on the wall, I go to look and there's 15 comments of people being like, oh my God, I listened to Victoria's podcast and this is what she would recommend. And I'm like, guys,
perfect.
I'm useless here now. So all I can go is, good work, guys. Like, thanks so much. You've nailed it. You don't need me anymore. So I think it's all about building community first, but then being responsive on what they need, not building a product and then going, well, I think it fits, and hoping that the people in your community purchase it, because they might not care.
You are a prolific content creator, and
I try.
You really are. Like there's so much content that's just coming out of your brain all the time. I want to know what your process is, like what the team looks like. What is the infrastructure that is
Like behind She's on the
that?
Money?
Yeah, behind She's on the Money.
So there's 8 full-time team members behind She's on the Money.
Yeah.
We've obviously got me, which I'm the face of the brand. It's my podcast. I was born to yap, so like they can't get rid of me. I have a podcast producer. So Emma is an absolute wizard. She books all of our guests, helps me pull together the episode outlines, makes sure that like we record when we say we're going to record, because for those of you who maybe haven't heard of She's on the Money, we drop 3 episodes a week. So we do a lot of content Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then sometimes we do bonus episodes.
Wow.
So if I'm like, oh, I really want to get a guest on the podcast, but it doesn't fit within the normal structures of like our Monday, our Wednesday, or Friday episode, I'll be like, looks like it's a Thursday or looks like it's a Saturday, just because I'm so excited to get that content out there.
Yeah.
We don't ever replace, like a Wednesday episode is usually our deep dive. We don't replace a Wednesday with like a guest or something, because I know that we have that really committed community who are like, no, we want our deep dive.
Yes.
So as Emma, I have Sam, and he edits and kind of produces the podcast alongside Emma, does all of the cutting. I've got Jess. Jess is the biggest wizard in the entire world. She started as my PA and now runs all of our partnerships across the entirety of She's on the Money. And then I've got Brooke and Georgia, and both of them are, they're kind of like 2 peas in a pod. So we call them the quote content department. We don't have departments.
Yeah.
We're kind of a very flat hierarchy, but they kind of sit over there brainstorming. They're much cooler than I'll ever be. So if you see a funny meme, just know I had nothing to do with that. Yeah, it was them. Anytime we have an unpaid intern doing something, that's actually Brooke blaming herself. So Brooke's in charge of helping me create content for our courses, helping research develop courses. She also does all of our social video edits. We have another person who does all of our podcast video edits, and then Georgia is our graphic designer.
Are you in an office with these folks, or are they
No,
all
those
remote?
guys
'Cause you're in Zella's office, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So those guys are all remote, but we get together once a quarter all together, depending on where we are. Sometimes it's Melbourne, sometimes it's Brisbane. We're actually getting all together in Uluru
amazing.
in a couple of weeks, which is kind of crazy for like a brand partnership. But I was like, if the team's together, like we can have a planning session.
Amazing.
So yeah, the team is quite diverse, but I feel like we all work really well together. And then I have a personal assistant inside She's on the Money as well, just to book Kiara, book things, get things off the ground, get my emails out of my inbox and kind of speak on my behalf when I'm doing things like this, because I can't be on my emails all the time.
Totally.
But sadly, they don't stop.
I completely understand. Okay. I want to understand when you're selling a course, when you're selling something D2C through She's on the Money, what does the funnel look like? Like, what is your marketing? Like, tell me. I have no funnels.
Yeah.
I've got.
Girl, let me at your business. I feel like I've gone down. I used to think it was a bit scammy, right? So like people who were selling courses and selling courses on funnels, I'd be like, I don't need you. Now I've come out the other side. I'm like a convert to the cult of like
Tell me.
understanding funnels. So in the process at the moment of transitioning, we're on Active Campaign at the moment, and we're moving over to Klaviyo.
Okay.
Just because it's a lot more integrated. I could go on and on. I can tell you about that offline. But if you went to our socials, you will not see a single thing about our courses. It's not front and center. But as I said before, it is the biggest income driver in our business. So it's not actually something that I sell to externals. It's built for and run around our community. So you will not find out about our courses. I mean, you can dig into our website and find it. Like, that's absolutely fine. Like, go buy my stuff.
Yeah.
But it's more around being responsive to the community and seeing what they're engaging with. A lot of tracking goes into it. And yes, a lot of funnels. So every single month we run something. And when I say something, I say it like that, not because I'm trying to be evasive, but because it's always different. Whether it is a free ebook 1 month, it might be a free mini course. At the start of the year, we did, a 30-day reset. Like, there's just lots of things that I'm trying to get people engaged with, and those things are free.
Yep.
So we get you into that. You might like the way that we have done something, And there might be a course at the end of that that could enhance your experience of that or take it a step further. For example, on our website, you might find a free downloadable and it's free budget, but my money masterclass takes it to the next level. So you might have loved filling in the budget, but there's just like a lot of blank spaces, a lot of lack of understanding. You really want to take it to the next level. Great. That's what my money masterclass is for. And once you've had a look at that, it's all about advertising. So like we are all over the Facebook and the Instagram ads, but more about remarketing and getting you into a sales funnel that gives you more than we get out of it. So don't get me wrong, it's about hopefully getting people into our courses. But like, I want to give you free budgets, free money tips, free tricks, and there happens to be an ad on each of those emails of the course that we are trying to hopefully funnel you towards. I think one of our longest email funnels goes for like 8 months.
Oh, wow.
And we've been building these out for a few years now. But yes, that's why it kind of all happens in the background as opposed to being visual, because it was a very active decision on my behalf to be like, no, once they're in the community, that's where they maybe have more buy-in and they're more committed to being a part of that. They trust me. I'm not here going, I've got the best money course in the entire world. I mean, I'm biased. I built it. So I think it's pretty flipping good.
Yeah.
But I want to build that trust first and then put on a silver platter all of the ways that I could help you above and beyond the free content that I produce.
Wow. Okay. So once somebody comes in with whatever that freebie is that you're running that month, then they are directed into a funnel that includes email, paid ads, they're retargeted. But if you're not in that, you probably won't hear about the paid product.
No, if you just followed us on Instagram, absolutely not. But if you're an active member of our community, like you're downloading our free downloadables, you're giving us your email address, that is when we feel like it's appropriate to start communicating with you about the other options that we have.
Do you run, are your masterclasses, are they evergreen or do you run them at certain times of the year?
So one of them is evergreen. So the money masterclass you can join at any point.
Yep.
And then our investing masterclass is run 4 times a year on average, and that's because it's a lot more interactive. So there's a lot of content in there that I would say is evergreen.
Yep.
Every single time we're adding more bonus modules. I'm doing lives, there's live Q&As, and so that's why we have to have like here's your set content, but then also here's the above and beyond. And everybody who joins our content, they get access to all the old stuff, but if you joined, you also get access to the new stuff. So it doesn't ever kind of expire. And I think for me, that's got nothing to do with sales or technique or community, but everything to do with financial literacy. So I think that there's an additional layer in our business that a lot of businesses who do courses don't have. And that's, from my perspective, the belief that financial literacy should also be free.
Yeah.
So I feel the need to give away a lot of content for free, because honestly, if you are struggling with money, you might not be able to afford my $300 course. Yeah. And that is so fine, but I still want to have an impact. I still want to put you in a better position. And we do that for thousands of women. We've done that for hundreds of thousands of women now. And most of our community don't buy our courses. And that's fine by me, because that's the ethos, that's the vision of the business. But to make it sustainable, to mean that I can pay all of my team to create this content for free, there has to be a paid aspect to it where we generate revenue so I can pay them to do this.
Okay, let's talk about some of this information that you want to be available to people for free.
Yeah.
When you're thinking about your own, I guess, personal approach to building wealth, I really enjoy watching your Instagram stories where you talk a little bit about selling your home and what your preferences are around you're really conservative about debt. And I don't know, I find that really interesting because I'm what is my philosophy around money? I don't really know, just trying to make more of it. But I'm curious about what some of those fundamental lessons are that you try and share with women who are trying to build wealth.
Yeah, so I think for me, I talk about this concept of a financial house.
Yes.
And if you're building a house, you would always make sure that the foundations are really secure. So I think a lot of people want to come and talk about investing. They want to talk about Bitcoin. They want to talk about, buying your first property.
And they want to angel invest.
So sexy.
Yeah.
We all want to angel invest, right? But how on earth is that going to be sustainable if you're not financially secure? And that stuff is boring. And that's why I try so hard to make it colorful and exciting, because I need you to understand your money story. I need you to understand, well, why don't you know what your ethos around money is? Like, is it just because money's never been that hard? Or is it because money's been so hard that you've buried your head in the sand? Like, you need to understand where you've come from so we know where we're going. Then I need you to understand what budgeting is. And I think so many people we don't want to talk about budgeting because it feels restrictive. But good budgeting is not about being restrictive. I'm not a restrictive girl.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to miss out, but I do want to know where every single dollar that I earn goes. And I want to make sure that it's got a job, and I want to make sure that it's working as hard as I did for it. Because I work pretty flippin' hard, and I know that everybody in my community does as well. So it's not really about restricting your groceries. It's about understanding, well, how does my money flow? And is that in line with the values that I have? Because upon reflection, I'm a little bit spontaneous sometimes, and I love an Uber Eats order. And I recapped last year. I spent a lot on Uber Eats.
Yeah. You're
slightly
preaching to the choir.
embarrassing. I was like, that is thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
But do you know what? That was in line with my values. I was like, hold on. As an individual, I do value convenience. I value time. I value not having to leave the office. I value not having to meal prep. That's just not my journey.
Yeah.
For some people in my community, Jasmine, I don't know how they do it. $50 a week, they feed a family of 4.
Yeah.
Wizards. Could never be me. And that is fine. But that's why understanding what works for us is so important, because like, you might look at my budget and go, I would never, Victoria. Like, what are you talking about? That amount on Uber Eats is irresponsible. It is awful. You could have invested. Great. But I'm not asking for your opinions. I just need to know how my money flows, and that's what good budgeting is. Then we need to understand our retirement plans. So not sexy. But sorry, do you want to work for the rest of your life?
But also really stressful if you haven't thought about it. And then it's the kind of thing that wakes you up in the middle of the night.
Yep. And
as you get older.
And I think we need to reframe it as well, because people like you or I, we just have, and especially women in business, I'm sorry, retirement. I'll stop working when I'm dead.
Yeah.
And I'm so passionate about it that I can't imagine a time where I lay back in a recliner and read a book. I'd read it for 30 seconds and then be like, ooh, hey, in that book they were talking about this, and I reckon that's a business idea.
Yeah.
So that's not my journey, but what resonates with people is financial freedom. Do you want the financial freedom to be able to read that book and also start another business should you wish to?
Yes.
Do you want the financial freedom to be able to sell your business or, get a new job at the whim of your choice, as opposed to being constrained to 9 to 5 Monday to Friday because you have to pay the rent? So I think that trying to understand these fundamentals is essential, and that's what I give away for free, because I will always help you with your budget. I will always help you make sure that you have the right insurances, that you know how to save. I have 6 million free savings plans. But when it comes to taking it to the next level and getting rich AF, great. Well, that's when you probably have a free bit of cash flow. I don't need to give my whole investing strategy away for free when I could make it a course, make it interactive, make it stupidly valuable. And then you are also probably going to be more committed to that outcome as well. Like, it's very cool that we get to do it. But I think that for me and in my team, I always call them like the hygiene factors, the things that we have to just do as a business because that's the right thing to do and it keeps our house clean. Then it's the like sugar on top and the things that I can commercialize without feeling like people are going to miss out on financial literacy.
I'm going to put links in the show notes to a lot of these free tools as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. I think people need to get onto these because I don't know, like we talk about, when we're talking about entrepreneurship and building businesses, we can talk a lot about the strategy of actually building the business. But then it's kind of like at the end of the day, your goal in business is to make money, and that's what differentiates a business from a hobby. And it's like, what do you do with that money? And how do people afford to start businesses? And I think that being able to have, like you said, this like financial hygiene in place, or this business hygiene in place.
We've just got to have a clean house.
You've got to have a clean house, and so that it just like frees up the mental space to be able to like execute in your business, I feel as well.
100%. It's like when you work from a messy office, all you can think about is tidying up your office before you can be productive.
So true.
And finances are the same. So how on earth are you going to be good at finances inside your business when you can't even understand how much you spend on your groceries every week? Like, start small and it starts strong, and that's where we're not going to get ourselves into trouble down the track when it comes to business taxes or paying staff or knowing when to scale, because we're not overwhelmed with money conversations. We've been having them with ourselves basically every single day. So the most successful women are good at money. And I think that often we are shamed away from being good at money because like, oh, we should just be passionate. Like, no, sorry, I actually want to be rich and I want everyone in my community to be rich and I want us to be wealthy and I want to create that with you, and we shouldn't feel shamed about wanting to earn more money.
You know what? I had a conversation. I've got a business coach who I've been working with for quite a long time, and she's amazing. Her name's Barbara. I'm going to link her in the show notes too if anyone wants to book her. But she and I have been talking for a long time, going round and round about the goals for the business forever, about where I want this to go and the vision and all of that. And for the first time this year, one of the goals was like a salary that, well, not a salary, but like what I wanted to take home for myself. And she was like, that is the first time you have mentioned the money that you are taking out of the business as a goal. And I was like, that is fucking crazy. I've been doing this for years.
You need to talk money more often.
What? I was just like talking like top line growth and impact and what the community gets. And then it took me 4 years to actually define, what do I financially want to get out of this business? What is that like mental thing that was in my head that was stopping me from thinking like, what
Guilt,
do I need
shame.
to extract?
I think a lot of us, when we own our own businesses, we feel bad taking from the business because we should be passionate, right?
Yes.
We should be grateful that we are able to not be in the 9 to 5, Monday to Friday rat race. Like, we shouldn't be talking about getting rich. We should be talking about adding value. And that is bullshit, because at the end of the day, if your cup is ridiculously full, you know what happens? It overflows into everybody else's cups. But if yours is empty, you're always running on dry. You're not ready to create content. You're not feeling as energized by it. You might feel run into the ground by your business. That's not cool. That's not what we're here to do. So I think for me, finances are so important from the get-go. It doesn't matter if you can't even pay yourself that salary. Like, let's pretend you're like, I really want to earn 200 grand a year from this business I'm starting. Isn't that so cool that we have a number we can work backwards from? Where the hell is that 200 grand coming from? Because it's one thing to build a business based on passion, but another to go, okay, cool. So I know if I'm like, let's take my business, for example. I have a podcast, you know, I also have a whole heap of stuff, but let's pretend that they don't exist right now and it's back in 2019 when it was just me. I've got this podcast. Okay, well, how else could I inject cash into the business? I could do speaking events. I could run workshops. Okay, what is my capacity around those? What would I have to charge to get close to my income goals? Okay, how do I make that sustainable? Because my speaking events are my time, and that's quite limited. And as time went on, you know, I got married, I had a kid, like my values change. How do I create more of a passive income that still resonates with my audience? And that's where courses have come from. How on earth are you meant to be building out your business to create more income if we don't have income goals?
Yes.
But everybody wants to make more money, but then we're not willing to talk about the actual goal of making more money. So for me, when I first started She's on the Money and Zella, my salary was like $38,000 a year once I started taking one, which was after I had employed my first staff member in She's on the Money.
How long did it take to start taking money from the business?
Oh, like another 18 months after I had a staff member, because like just overheads, like we ended up having like more expensive rent than I'd anticipated. You know, podcasting spirals. It's 1 minute you're on the floor with a sock over a microphone cutting episodes on your own laptop by yourself, and the next you're hiring studios and getting videographers and having a professional producer. Like, it just spirals, and that's good because that's success, right? That's how we've been able to commercialize the podcast, but that involved investment. And I remember taking $38,000 a year because I was like, that's going to pay my rent. That's going to, I lived with my now husband. Yeah. That's going to contribute to the bills and the groceries. And I feel like good about that. Is that doing above and beyond? No. But I'd always had in my head, I wanted to earn more than $200,000. Yeah. And to me now, I look back on it because like the income of the business does definitely surpass $200,000 a year. I remember being like, wow, to me at that time, that was massive. Like the idea I could take a salary of 200 grand, Jasmine, was mind blowing. Yeah. And so like being able to even landmark it while we look back, I go, yeah, remember when I earned 38 grand? Remember when I set this financial goal and smashed it? And so then I was like, wonder if I could like take home $500,000 one year. Crazy, smash it. Like it's just so fun and also gratifying. But then also when I'm talking to other women, it's like kind of like a blueprint. Like you could do this too, but you don't get to start at being $1 million course owner.
Yeah.
You don't get that. That's not a given. But like 38,000, oh, maybe you could do that too.
Yeah.
And what happens when you get there? You've probably created the systems and the structures in your business to make that sustainable. So, well, what's next?
You speak with women about money every day. That's what you're doing. You've been doing it for years. And I'm curious what some of the, I guess, like the biggest mistakes or the biggest questions that people have that keep coming up. And can you let us know what those are and the advice that you give?
The first one's really boring, and it's just not understanding your budget.
Yeah.
Like, how good are we if I said to you, and like, let's pretend you don't budget at all, and I said, how much do you spend on fashion? You'd be like, oh, I don't know, like a couple of $100 a month conservatively. And then if we dove into it, like it might be way more than that. But you're like, oh, but that only happens like once a year, but you have a big blowout. Like we don't actually have our finger on the pulse with what actually happens with our money. And that gets us in a lot of trouble because we might blow out a credit card with the intention of paying it off. But then we forgot that next month our rego is due, or the month after that, oh yeah, that's right, my housemate's moving out and I have to pay double rent. So we really underestimate the power of money because we think, oh, well, more will come. The other thing is just, it's not even financial, but it does come back to finances, and it's just women not backing themselves, staying in jobs they hate because they really don't have the confidence to move and don't believe in themselves. But like you look at them and you go, you are killing it. Like you are so smart and you are so able to do this next job. Why the hell haven't you moved? It's really around confidence. And I think that, it's only been in Australia the last 50 years that women have actively been able to participate in the economy. It was 50 years ago that my family members, your family members, had to get a male to co-sign on a bank account.
Same in the US. That women couldn't get a credit card until 50 years ago last year.
Yeah. Isn't that insane though? So the fact that we are so behind.
That's one generation.
Yes, but it still lingers. It's not necessarily an awful thing for us today, but we need to remember that like that's where these patriarchal societies come from, of like women don't know as much and like it just flows through, and then we really doubt ourselves because of it. But like, sorry, have you ever seen women with more money do worse?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Women who have more money help their communities. Women who have more do more and are more. Men who have more money, they create wars. I think we need to back ourselves so much more than we do.
I'm curious about you and like your financial glow up and like how your life has changed, because you started this, you talk about $38,000 a year, what you're paying yourself, and now you've got 2 thriving businesses, you own real estate, and I want to know what has shifted in your life as you've unlocked these new levels of financial freedom.
I would just say more freedom.
Yeah.
Like it's crazy.
What do you do differently in your time, or like how do you feel differently as you move about your day? Anything?
I don't. Oh, yeah. Like if I look back, I got into literally, I had a personal loan of $40,000. I traveled, I bought clothes and shoes. I wish I could tell you there was a really good reason why I had that debt, but it wasn't. It was overconsumption. And I used to just wake up stressed about money. I can still tell you that my rent, I lived in a share house, $883 a month.
Yeah.
Like I can tell you that because that number stresses me out. Still, like if we go back to that space, my money story is such that I would be stressed about being able to pay my rent, pay my loans. I didn't tell anybody I was in debt. So even the housemates I lived with, they'd be like, do you want to go out for brunch? And I'd be like, yeah, of course. And I'd be putting it on a credit card because I'd already paid off my loan repayment and my rent that month, and I just didn't have any more wiggle room. And that still to me is really real, which is probably why you've heard me say things like I'm really averse to debt.
Yes.
It's because I've had that journey and I don't want to take on more debt than I need to. But then I also have the privilege of education, and I understand that for me, leveraging debt can leverage my wealth. So that is still a really scary concept, irrespective of whether I understand it fully or not. So that has played into me not, like my husband and I have a credit card, but we use it for points, and I'm a psycho about paying it off.
Yeah.
My husband's like, yeah, I chucked Rego on the credit card. I'm already on my banking app transferring the money to make sure that there's no debt sitting there because it just gives me anxiety. It means that we've made different decisions than a lot of other people might around property. I'm very lucky, or no, luck is a bad word. I think we're not lucky. I'm very privileged, and I've worked really hard to be able to afford 2 homes. So I live between a beach house and a city house, and I'm very grateful for that. But recently we went to purchase a new house, and the conversation that was happening around that wasn't, oh, we can't afford it. It was, we can, but we don't want to afford this.
Yes.
We need to dispose of one of these properties because in order to move up into a bigger one, like I'm just not comfortable carrying that level of debt. And I got a lot of, and I'm very transparent online about this journey. I got a lot of questions because people were like, that house is beautiful. Because like I shared the journey and I was like, this is the reno we did on it. This is the glow up it's had, and we're going to put it up for auction. So many people were like, Victoria, that would rent out so well. And you're right, it would have. But I didn't want to have that level of debt, and that's not part of my wealth creation journey, because I just don't want to be in a position where, you know, if something bad happened, I didn't have the cash flow to be able to pay my way out of it.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to end up in a position where I'm so over leveraged and something, and it's that catastrophe mindset still, right? So I think that's why it's also so important to understand your own money mindset, because right now life, you know, it's a little bit stressful. We're moving money around. We're trying to buy a new house. Like it's a privilege, but my time is freedom. So like having staff, having a team that are absolute legends means this morning on a Thursday, I got up with my husband. We walked down to the beach with my son on his tricycle. We went to the cafe. I had an acai bowl, a coffee. I wandered home. I got ready and I came to a podcast while my business was still working, while my assistant's texting me, asking me, oh, is this right? Is that not? Everything is just tracking in the background. And to me, that's crazy. Like, I don't think I think a lot of people might look at it from the outside and be like, oh, she probably takes that for granted. Do you know how many times I look at my husband on a weekly basis? I'm like, oh, we're so lucky, aren't we?
Yeah.
Like, I never want to lose that. So my life does definitely look very different, but that was purposeful. It wasn't like I accidentally woke up and now I have more time.
Yeah.
I had to work 90-hour weeks to get to a point where I could start having more time.
Amazing. I want to know a little bit more about Zella. So this is not a type of business that I think we've ever spoken about on the show. We're talking with a lot of like sexy tech founders.
Oh yeah,
and
no,
like
my business
beauty
isn't
brands.
sexy.
But tell me about what you're doing and how you build a business like this.
Yeah, so mortgage broking in Australia and in the US is a massive business, right? Like the average consumer cannot be expected to go to 40 different options and weigh up which loan is the best loan for them when purchasing their first home. Here in Australia, we have lots of grants and different schemes that not only do you need to apply for, but you might not be aware of. So going to a broker, I would say an independent broker, not a broker through an individual bank, is putting your best interests first when it comes to building wealth through property. The cool thing about brokerage in both Australia and the US is that the banks pay us. So as a client, the service is free. You come to me, I work everything out. Once you have your loan, the bank splits a part of their profit that they make from writing that loan with me as the broker for settling that loan, because they don't have to pay marketing. They didn't have to get off their couch to go and get another client. I'm bringing them to their door. So there's a lot of value for clients, but then on the flip side, there's a lot of value as an individual creating a business, because I'm not relying on you, Jasmine, to pay me.
Yeah.
Like I am going to get paid if I settle loans. I'm not having to chase invoices or do anything like that.
That's crazy, because it's like such a clear, easy value add to the customer.
Yeah. And you know what? There are certain types of customers that come in our door that I lose money on, right? So, and I'm always really transparent about that. It will still be free, but you know, if you've got a refinance and you already own most of your house and you're just coming to me for a $100,000 loan, the amount of time and energy I put into that, I'm probably going to lose money. But we give that customer the exact same treatment we do as one of our clients who last week bought an $8 million property, because in terms of the loans, it's scaled. So the smaller loans acquire a smaller referral fee. The larger the loan, the larger the fee. So like those bigger clients that we get outweigh the smaller ones, and it all just comes out in the wash to me. So everyone just gets treated the same. Building that for me was a choice after stepping out of financial advice, because I no longer had the capacity to run a financial advice business and She's on the Money, but didn't want to leave financial services. And I'd always had a mortgage broker, which was kind of like the cherry on top for my financial advice clients, because I would help my clients save, invest, work out how to get their first home deposit. And then I hated the idea that I sent them to someone else to go and hold their hand in buying their first home. Like I wanted that joy. And then I loved it so much that I decided to just do that. So we now write about $500 million a year in loans across Australia. We only service Australia. And yeah, like my plan is not to grow that business too aggressively, because from my perspective, I've actually achieved the lifestyle and the incomes that I would like to. And I really like this balance that we have at the moment. In the future, that might change. Like once I'm through this period of having babies and growing our family and all of that, maybe I'll go, let's get aggressive and let's like scale it up and have a 50-person team. And I'm very, very lucky that the podcast and the She's on the Money ecosystem really supports Zella. So most of my clients come from that She's on the Money system where they've saved with me, they've done my savings, money masterclass, whatever. They've gotten their first home deposit. They've felt like I've been on that journey with them and they get to come into Zella and buy their first home with me. I love it.
Amazing. What's the team like? How many people?
So there's just under 20 of them at the moment.
That's a pretty big team.
Yeah, I have 6 full-time brokers, and then for every broker we have 2 administration staff. We then have a settlements officer and an offshore team as well.
So are you're running She's on the Money, you're running this other business, like you're with me on a Thursday having a podcast.
Yeah.
Like how are you doing this?
So I would say the beautiful thing about my Zella business is mortgage brokers, because they have a base salary, but they're also commission based, are really self-motivated. So like I'm not often having to be like, hey, what are you doing? I'm checking in on you. Like I just look at my accounting software and I know whether you've been doing your work or not. I believe in giving adults that I employ freedom like adults deserve to have, right? Like I think there's this really beautiful mutual amount of respect, and that business ebbs and flows. So sometimes I'm needing to get my hands dirty. There's a client that I need to escalate. I need to call banks, have arguments, work out what the hell's going on. And that's why my phone's always on. Yeah. But on the flip side, I feel like I've created an administration structure that supports our brokers. That means I don't have to do a lot of that.
And by admin structure, you mean the hiring, or do you mean processes?
I think internal processes. So hiring, I still struggle with.
Yeah.
I hate hiring new staff. It's one of the reasons I don't want to grow, because I'm just like, we have such a beautiful team. I don't want to rock the boat again.
Yeah.
But making sure that we are, you know, if you looked at other businesses that maybe also have 6 brokers, I doubt they would have 2 administration per broker supporting them. But the reason I do is because overall better client experience, better outcomes, less stressed staff means less stressed me. Yeah. And that feels like a little bit of a selfish choice. When you look at kind of payroll and what that means, it does definitely eat into more of the profits of the business. But for me, I look at it and I go, well, this is sustainable long term, as opposed to me chasing my tail and always trying to be the person who is chasing everything up. You know, inside our business, we call her a settlements officer, and Sal is a wizard. And a lot of broking businesses wouldn't even consider paying that role because the brokers should finish off their own clients. Yep. Whereas for me, once the loan has been completely formally approved, you've bought your house, you've gone to auction, you've signed a contract, that client actually gets handed over to Sal. The broker's in the background still being looped in, but she makes sure everything goes smoothly with your solicitors, if you've got a conveyancer, if there's anything else we need to do, so that the brokers can then focus on their clients that they're currently trying to get across the line. Smart. So we come back in and we celebrate with you, but they're not weighed down by that end of process administration. So for me, I kind of just check in. How are you going, Sal? Great, no worries. Is there anybody that I need to help, push along the line? Great, no. Brokers, they all individually come to me, but there's no form of middle management either, because we tried that and it just didn't work.
This is such an interesting business model to me, and it just feels like as soon as you said you get paid by the banks, not by the customer. I was
Yeah,
like,
everyone's always
this is so smart.
Everyone's always so surprised because I think they assume that when you go to a mortgage broker, there must be some type of fee associated. And in the industry, there are some mortgage brokers who do charge a fee. And does that mean they're bad brokers? No. They might actually be an individual broker that needs to work out, you say, I want a loan. And they go, all right, well, our first appointment's $400. And if you're not willing to put your money where your mouth is, maybe you weren't ready to get the loan yet. So for some, it's a filtering of that like fact-find process. Whereas for us, we are very happy to take on clients at any point in the journey.
I have a few kind of quick fire questions for you. One of them is a strong opinion that you have about entrepreneurship that might be a little bit controversial.
That it's not that hard. You just have to have a little bit of delulu.
Love that.
Like your delulu has to outweigh your logic sometimes. You still have to have logic, but like I think a lot of people go, I could never be an entrepreneur. It's too hard. And honestly, I think a lot of us are here because we're like 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, way too hard.
Way harder.
Like
way harder.
Give a job to a lazy person and we'll find a way around it. And I think we really overthink this. I feel like the word entrepreneurship is quite formal and makes it sound like if I introduce myself as an entrepreneur.
Much fancier than it is.
Yeah, it's not. You just are doing your own thing and that's sick and like, it's not that deep.
The idea of having a job is actually quite new. Like for most of history, people did have, they were blacksmiths in their own little blacksmith, and they were farmers with their own little plots that they sold at the market. Like that people, like I think it's like ingrained in humankind to be entrepreneurial. It's just, I think we now associate entrepreneurship with building a like SaaS business in Silicon Valley or something. And that's like not really what it is.
And I think it's interesting as well because you probably get a lot of people on this show who are like, my next financial goal is really big and I want to grow my team and I want to do this. And you don't have to adhere to that. Like I have built my business and like I am fiercely protective of it. And people will be like, hey V, like you've got this brilliant podcast. And like we are so fortunate to have so many leads coming into the Zella business that I could hire 3 more brokers tomorrow and make that profitable.
Yeah.
I don't want to. Yeah. And that's not me being self-absorbed. It's me protecting my peace and going, I want to be able to do a podcast if it pops up because this stuff is fun. I want to, on a Thursday morning, have my husband work a half day and we go to brunch.
So how well adjusted are you that you know what contentment looks like rather than just like keeping on the treadmill for no reason?
I feel like that comes down to understanding your money story.
Yeah.
Like I understand what I want to put on the table. I have a very clear investment plan that I know that irrespective of my businesses, I could sell them up tomorrow and make $0 from both of them and I will be independently wealthy on my own. I have invested enough to know that by the time I hit the age of 40, my husband and I could afford our mortgages that we have, afford to send my kids to private school and not work another day in our lives.
Amazing.
And I think that when you have that clarity, you're not chasing the next high, you're not chasing the next big thing because what more do I need than that? And I mean, there are probably a lot of people out there who are like, well, I want to get to $1 billion or I want to have the biggest XYZ. And having the background that I have in private wealth, I have seen the people who are billionaires. I have worked with them. I have been their financial advisor. And I can tell you right now, they're not that happy. The family issues, the more money you have, the more issues you have. And so for me, yes, I'm not shy about saying I would love to be wealthy. And I want to be wealthy. And I would say that independently we are now. Have I achieved everything I want? No, but I know with the cash flow that I'm currently achieving in my businesses, I'm going to be just fine. And so will my family and so will my legacy.
Amazing. If you were going to start over today and you didn't have an audience, you didn't have,
It's so much harder, Jasmine. Oh my God.
What would you do? What kind of business would you start?
I would do another content business, I think. Just if you said I had nothing, I think starting product is, from my perspective, too risky and I'm relatively risk averse. Content is a lot about just finding your voice and finding a space that you feel safe and creating confidence. Like nobody innately just has confidence.
Yes.
We all doubt what we post online, but some of us just give more of a shit.
Yes.
So I think content would absolutely be it. Trying to find a niche of clients or a niche of a community that is currently missing something that I could fill that void from.
Do you angel invest?
I have before, but I don't have a lot of capacity at this point to do so.
Well, you'd be getting hit up by people in your DMs if you said that that's something that you
I'm so interested in it, but I think that as somebody who has angel invested before, I don't just want to give you cash and watch you be successful. I also want to bring something to the table. Like I would love to, in the future have that mentorship role of, someone who's kind of replicating a business that I know deeply or
it might be a different chapter for you.
Yeah, exactly, and can add value to. But at the moment, it's something that I've literally had to step back from and go, do you know what? That's probably not going to work out so well because I couldn't give the value. And yeah.
What is the best business book that you've read that you recommend other people go listen to on audio? Or
I know
read?
I wrote this down and I gave you what I said I was going to do, but
Let's see if you remember it.
No, I'm not going to say that. I'm going to say this other book it's by Mike Wowski or something.
Okay.
And it's about paying yourself first. The book is called Profit First.
Oh, yes.
And I am obsessed with it because I think that as founders, we are so like, no, I'm going to live tooth and nail and I'm going to do the least and live so minimally and put everything back into my business. And like after reading that book, I was like, this man gets it. This man gets it, and you need to pay yourself first and have a profit in your business first to make it long-term successful and so that it's sustainable. So I would probably say that. Is it the most inspiring book ever? Absolutely not. The other one that I didn't write down is it's a business book. It's an investing book. It's called The Richest Man in Babylon. It is the most dry book you'll ever pick up. You'll look at it and be like, Victoria, what on earth?
Okay, well, I'm not going to read it then.
No, you
so
will.
tell me.
You will. You'll love it. You'll love it because it goes back to how the richest man in Babylon got rich. Way back when we were blacksmiths and we were farmers and we were butchers and we had to all be relatively entrepreneurial, this idea of investing and how to invest and what that would look like, and that the people in those communities and societies were hoarding a little bit of wealth so that they could lend it out to other people and charge interest and then create more wealth. And just this concept of taking advice from the right people. So one of the quotes I love from that book is, you wouldn't take advice on buying diamonds from a bricklayer. And I always come back to that when I'm taking advice from literally anybody, because I think in 2025, 2026 is so hard because everybody online has an opinion. And they're so confident.
Yes.
They say things with such conviction. You just go, well, it must be right. And even I get taken by TikTok videos and Instagram content and go, wow, I would love to do that. But you need to strip back and go, hold on, are they giving advice on purchasing diamonds when they have no experience in purchasing diamonds? It's like, I'm so skeptical of this business coaching area because how many people are business coaches that have never built a successful business? So for me, I think as a business owner, I love telling people to read that. It can be dry, but I think as business owners, we go, oh, but it's good though.
Okay, that's
so
awesome.
It's a good book because it kind of goes back to the bread and butter basics of investing, and that can be applied to every area of your life.
The very last thing I want to ask you is for some tools, platforms, things that you're using to run your business that you recommend other folks try.
I love Notion.
Yeah.
I don't know if other people love Notion as much
I feel
as
like you're
I do.
giving Notion. Like you seem like an organized. I feel like all the organized, process-based people I know use Notion.
Yep, everybody in my team is on Notion.
Yep.
Like they know what I'm doing. Everybody has access to all of my Notion boards as well in my team. So if you want to know about my personal life, you just click on the VD personal and you know like what I'm meant to be doing. You see my shopping lists, and I think that level of clarity really helps. We use Kajabi a lot for our online courses, which I think is a really fantastic tool, especially if you're starting up and trying to work out, well, how and where do I build a platform? Another tool that we use that I was talking about the other day that I just thought everybody was using was Repurpose.io.
No.
So Repurpose.io basically takes a video that you have posted one place and distributes it everywhere else. So like it will take our Instagram videos and put them on TikTok, on Instagram, on YouTube Shorts, on everywhere else, but it will clip it, frame it, add the right tags, change the caption and distribute it so you're not replicating. We also have certain tags for when we upload our content. So if we're like, no, this one would not do well on TikTok, it's definitely an Instagram piece, it won't upload to that platform, which is kind of helpful. And then the last one is Canva. I feel like everybody loves Canva. My graphic designer, Georgia's going to murder me for saying Canva because she's not a Canva girly and she hates that I still use it. But as a founder, as somebody who still likes to get into the nitty gritty of my business, like if a pitch is going out to a new brand, I want to be part of that.
100%.
And I don't like the idea of going back and forth to a graphic designer every time. So a lot of our pitch documents, a lot of our, podcast outlines, they all live in Canva, to Georgia's dismay. She's designed them all up for me so that I can go in and just edit them. But that way I feel like I am really putting what I want out into the world as opposed to just something really curated.
This has always been so helpful. I've loved hearing your story.
Fun.
I feel like we've been internet friends and met a few times, and I've just always been so curious about the nuts and bolts of the businesses that you've built.
And I'm an open
this
book,
has been
so just
interesting.
ask. I think one of my favorite things is just being like, oh no, I do it this way. Like, oh, this is the program I use. This is the software. Like, I don't believe in gatekeeping.
Yeah.
Because you've actually got to do the work if you want to replicate it.
100%. It's like, take my ideas because it's
like,
come and do
off.
this. It's really hard.
Yeah, pop off. I'm stressed. Also, do you know how long it took me to pick Kajabi? Like, I'm glad I could give that to you, but like, let me stroke my own ego for a second. It took months to get to that point of analyzing literally every platform on the market. So if I can help you as a small business owner by being like, hey, this worked for me, I'm just going to do it.
I love that about you. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
I just wanted to end the show with a quick shout out to all of our paid Business Besties subscribers. For $12.99 a month, you get access to a weekly live call with mentors who we handpick from this podcast community. These are founders who have been on the show, experts and operators that are helping to build their businesses. And we want to give you access in a small group setting on live calls every single week so that you can get the mentorship and advice that you need to take your business to the next level. In addition to the live calls and the community, you also get access to a big database of workshop recordings, group coaching call recordings, templates, contact lists, and just all of the tools and resources that you need to make this business a success. Head to bestie.femalefounderworld.com or the link in the show notes to sign up now.